Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers, geezers, and film aficionados alike. It's this episode's this episode of Fast Food Films. Fast Food Films are films that are, how can I put it? They're not like Lord of the Rings, where Lord of the Rings is a banquet, a 7-course meal. These are short, sharp, quick bits of food that you can gobble up and enjoy. Most people call these popcorn flicks, but we call them fast food films. And this week we will be talking about Gone in 60 Seconds, starring Nicolas Cage as a retired master car thief that's come back to the industry to steal 50 cars with his crews in one night to save his brother's life. Starring, what's his mush? The guy who played Doctor Who.
Christopher Eccleston.
Christopher Eccleston and Angelina Jolie, with a surprising kind of entry from Vinnie Jones as his first kind of foray into motion pictures.
Cue the music.
It's better than last week's one.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. It makes me feel hungry.
I know. I could see out the internet, and there used to be really useful function on the search engines for videos and images where it said, like, you know, Creative Commons and whatnot. And I can only find one decent video. So this poor bastard who's done the really nice videos put it onto Creative Commons. So we're not making any money. So thanks very much. So tell us about Gone in 60 Seconds. This was in 2000.
Yes, I picked this one because I love heist movies. And I think this is a really good example of a good heist movie. It's fast. It's definitely a fast food film. I mean, it's called Gone in 60 Seconds. It's about fast cars. You can't get them much faster.
I was going to make a joke
unless you're going to go on.
I was going to make a joke about you and a burger then. Gone in 60 seconds.
Yeah, well, 30 seconds. Come on, give me some credit. I love this film. I've loved it since the first time I saw it. And this predates Fast and the Furious. So, I mean, whereas Fast and the Furious started off as more of a sort of like, you know, I don't know, kind of action adventure film, they later on turned into heist movies. And since they turned into heist movies, I prefer them. But this was kind of like the first one I saw. But this wasn't the first Gone in 60 Seconds. There was a 1974 movie called Gone in 60 Seconds. This is kind of a reboot of that movie. But the wife of the director who made the original produced, or was one of the producers on this particular film, because she owned all the rights to some of the characters. Although the character of Kip Raines, played by our wonderful Nicolas Cage, he seems to be a staple of fast food films at the moment. And he does have the greatest character names, like in the most fast food. I mean, you know, there's Stanley Goodspeed, which I love now, Kip Raines. I mean, he's just these names. Who thinks them up?
No, he's not Kip Raines. He's Memphis Raines. Kip Raines is called his brother.
Is that his brother?
His brother is Kip.
Shit, yeah, no, sorry. Memphis Raines, yes, because Memphis was the original character in the original film. Yeah, sorry, I got my...
Do you know why? Because he's a massive bloody Elvis fan. And that's probably why Memphis. And
the character was called Memphis something in the 1974 film as well, but it was something different. And in actual fact, the director of the film played the lead role in the 1974 film. But there's lots of fun facts and information around him, which we'll come on to in a bit. But, I mean... the thing about this film is it's got cars, and I admit I am a bit of a car geek. I'm not hugely geeky about cars, but I like cars, and there aren't that many American muscle cars that I like, but I love the AC Cobra. I fucking love Mustangs. I really do, and you know, this is arguably got the pinnacle of Mustangs in it with the Shelby GT 500. And there's a lot of facts around that as well, but we'll come back into that. But yeah, so the film, if you've never seen this film, the basic premise is that Nick Cage heads up a gang of car thieves, and they've got to steal 49 cars in a very short amount of time. In the end, they elect to do it all in one night in order to save his brother from this dastardly evil guy that's got this order that he contracted his brother to do, and the brother fails to steal these cars, and now he's threatening to kill him. And that bad guy is played by none other than Christopher Eccleston, and he's doing his Northern Lancashire accent because he decided that there's, you know, whenever you see an American film, the British people in it are either well-spoken posh people or cockney in it, mate, and they are, or you know, Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins, which was just wrong. But he decided to play a Lancashire accent, and I think he did pretty well. He famously hates this role and hates the film, but then he also hates his role in Doctor Who, and he was arguably quite good in Doctor Who.
He doesn't hate it anymore. He's turned around and said that he doesn't hate it anymore. He said that at the time he did, and his head is not in quite the straightest of places, and now he's far away from it. He kind of understands how people are towards it. But okay, so we got Memphis Reigns and Kip Reigns then, and he's got to steal all these vehicles and bits. Yeah. So we've also got Vinnie Jones in there too.
Well, Vinnie Jones. This was Vinnie Jones' third movie. But it was his second, because he did two movies in 2000, and technically this was released after his other one. But this was like his first, I think, foray into big American films. I don't know what else he was in.
Yeah, he was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. First time I saw him. And then he was in
Snatch.
But I don't know when Snatch was.
Snatch, I think, was after this, but I will tell you in a couple of seconds. Because I will have a look on the IMDb. Because I always have
Snatch was 2000, but I don't know if it came out.
There we go.
Before.
Snatch came out before this. So he did Lock, Stock and Snatch, and then he was in this. And of course, Vinnie Jones in this, he doesn't talk until the end. And I do happen to have his clip at the end. Should I?
Can
I play it for? I love this speech.
They can't demonetize us because we haven't.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, as I said, he doesn't actually. I need to give me a couple of seconds because I need to put this into Chrome because it doesn't work so well in Safari, does it? While I'm queuing this up, he doesn't speak throughout this whole film. He just plays it sort of menacingly.
Yeah,
and then
his character is called the Sphinx.
Yes, because. It's called Sphinx because originally the character was conceived to have no nose, and he was meant to sort of like, really, that was why he was called Sphinx. But then Vinnie Jones, they kind of saw Vinnie Jones and went, no, we want him, and so they lined him up for the role. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cue this up. So here we go.
Go full screen.
Hang on, I will go full screen now.
And are you sharing the sound, Mr. Sycamore?
I am.
Success. If his unpleasant wounding has in some way enlightened the rest of you as to the grim finish below the glossy veneer of criminal life and inspired you to change your ways, then his injuries carry with it an inherent nobility and a supreme glory. We should all be so fortunate. You say poor Toby. I say poor us.
He spoke. Hey, man, I thought you were from Long Beach.
I remember that bit. I can't remember what he said, but I remember thinking it was an American.
I love that whole speech because, again, it's just, I mean, you know, he doesn't speak a lot in Lock, Stock, but when he does speak, it is quite poignant. And I like that a lot. I like his character in this, and there's some fun facts around him which we'll get into in a bit. But
given his acting experience, that's probably the wisest choice not to have him talk too much.
Yes, but he was great. But in the films that he was in, he was really good. I mean, I love him in Lock, Stock, and he's good in Snatch, but I love him in Lock, Stock. You know, especially with the kids as well.
No, I think there's a bit in Snatch where he's like kind of he's with the old guy, and they're doing the interrogation I think it's the Soul or whatever it is, and they've got him in his pawn shop, and he goes, "Who's got it?" He goes, "Boris." Boris the bullet dodger, like that. Why do they call him a bullet dodger? Because he dodges bullets, Avi. His delivery is actually quite good for someone who's only been acting for a small period of time. But then again, he did act on the football field, feigning injury.
Yeah, he did a bit, but doesn't all footballers. But his delivery of that speech is fantastic, and it's so good because again, throughout the whole film, doesn't utter a word, and then it's just like even the beginning when Memphis phones him and speaks to him on the phone, he goes, "Yeah, press the button if that's you," and the guy can fucking speak all the way through. Oh no! Did my internet bounce?
I died there. I'm afraid.
Where was I?
You were. He pressed the button, and then it was just after that.
Yeah, he presses a button, and of course, because Casey refuses to speak, but it's more of a refusal thing than something else. There's some great actors in this film. I mean, and in fact, when you sort of understand how they made this film, a lot of people criticize Nicolas Cage for his acting, but I tell you what, we'll get into this in a bit. He does a very good job in this film. But you have Robert Duvall, who I love and adore. Great actor, and he's in this. He plays like the guy that runs the chop shop and is kind of like Memphis's mentor, and you know, he's just a kind guy, and he's good in this. He's good, and I like him in this. And then you've got Angelina Jolie, who is actually really good in this film, even though her hair is insane, but she's good in this film.
I was going to say, hair looks like it smells.
It does a little bit in this film.
It does. You look at it, it's like, my hair smells.
It does look a bit, but she's still hot in this film. She is hot, even I would, even with the blonde dreadlocks. But yeah, I as I said, there's lots of cameos, and there is a cameo in this from a very young, and it's only for a second or two, but there is a cameo from a very young Michael Penner, is how you say his name. Now, you'll know him because he plays Lewis in Ant-Man, who is arguably the best thing about Ant-Man.
Oh, the guy with ADHD.
Yes, and he's also in The Martian. He's been in loads of things, and he's a very recognizable face. But he has a cameo in this, and he's really baby face. He's like really young. He's only in it for a second. He plays a typical, Cuban hey cablon kind of guy, but he's in it for about a second, and that I'd forgotten that. And so when I noticed it, I thought, right, we have to note that down because people will recognize him now because he made such a name for himself in Ant-Man. I mean, they tragically underused in the second movie, and arguably what he was brilliant in the first movie, but he just wasn't given anything to do in the second movie, and they tried to sort of rehash what he did in the first movie, and it just didn't work. I'm talking about Ant-Man here, not this. Anyway, I digress, but back to this. So yes, and then of course you've got, as we said, we've got Christopher Eccleston who plays a bad guy. Then you've got the two cops, and that's Timothy. How is it? Timothy Olyphant? Is that how you say his name?
Oliphant. Like elephant.
He's very good at playing the sort of slightly sleazy characters, isn't he? And he does play Timothy, like almost a.
See, with the exception of the Santa Clarita diet, Timothy Olyphant always seems to be the guy that would have bullied you at high school. That's the role he seems to play. I'm sorry, he might be one of those nice. He might have been one of the kids that was bullied, and that's why he plays those parts, because you often find that actors tend to, out of catharsis, play the ones that they were harassed by or like. So yes. So yeah, we got that. I've got a list of the cars that were stolen.
I've got that, but go on. Do you want to?
Right,
have you got the trivia?
All right. So
because they're not all in it. They're not all in it. That's the thing.
No, they're not. They're not all in it, and they've given. It's great because they've given them all names too. Yes. I'm looking for Martha for a Superman reference.
But you see, it's got Aston Martins in it, but you never actually see the Astons in it. Because it has a DB7, which was all right, but it's got the DB1 in it, which you never see. There's quite a lot of cars in here, but there were some random cars in here. Like there was a Toyota Land Cruiser for some bloody reason.
Yeah, and there's a Volvo.
Which you do see.
What's the Volvo? The Volvo Turbo Wagon R.
Yes, you see that, and you see the Land Cruiser.
So it's like so let's go through a list of it. So you had the Aston Martin DB7, which is called Mary Anstey. And then you've got the Aston Martin DB1, which is called Barbara. Then you've got the Bentley Armitage Lindsay, the Bentley Azure Laura, the Bentley Continental Alma, the Cadillac Eldorado. I'm going to forget the names. The Cadillac 59 and 58 Cadillac Eldorado, Cadillac Escalade.
I mean, seriously, I know what that is. It's just like, what?
1999. It's not one of the old giant wagon ones. Cadillac Eldorado, STS, Chevrolet Bel Air convertible, Chevrolet Camaro Z28, Chevrolet Corvette Stingray, Ford F-Series. Those just... I can't remember seeing this many cars in the film, Keith. You got Ferraris, 35. You got 1, 2, 3. You got about 5 Ferraris there. Ford T-Bird, GMC Yukon, Hummer. I think that wasn't in there.
Humvee. You do see the Hummer because there's a fact around that. Because that's one of Vinnie Jones steals the Hummer. You do see the Jaguar. You do see a Jaguar because there's a fact around one of the Jaguars in that.
2 Jags are supposed to be stolen. That we've got a Lamb 19.
Yeah, it's the XJ 20. And then you do see the Lambo briefly. I don't remember seeing. You do see the Lincoln Navigator. The Mercedes are featured in there because of the keys. Because the coppers get hold of the guy that they get the sort of laser keys off, so they then go and pinch the original ones that they had the keys for out of the cop shop, which was quite funny. It's quite funny. So this is quite a funny movie as well. There's quite a lot of comedy in this.
Yeah,
but you see the Mercedes.
Yeah, it's mad because, dude, just imagine, where was this set? Was this Los Angeles or San Francisco?
Yes. I think it was Los Angeles. Yeah, okay, I think it is Los Angeles because it has the naval hard.
Well, they are made a naval base because that's in San Francisco.
No, it's another one, but I think it's meant to be LA. I'm sure it's LA.
Okay, all right. Because imagine being in charge of the police when this happens, because your car crime rate in one evening has just gone through the roof. That's some explaining to do.
But you have the 2 coppers following him, and you've got the sort of the lead, the other guy, the black guy who in the end lets Memphis go because Memphis saves his life by killing the Chris Eccleston, who is obsessed with making wooden things. Like he makes he made a chair as well, because there's a point where Memphis threatens to take out the chair when he's already sort of laid into Christopher Eccleston. And then he carries on. So it's it's a thing. So anyway,
I'm having trouble remembering this film because I didn't get around to watching it, and it was like last episode was Stargate, and I can pretty much quote that because I've watched it that much. Where Gone in 60 Seconds, I've probably seen it about 4 times in my entire life.
I watch it when it's on, and I just enjoy it. But then, as I said, I enjoy a good heist movie, and this is a good one. So I've got lots of sort of interesting facts around this. As I said, it's a loose remake of the 1974 film with the same title. That was a low budget film. It was made for like $150,000. Something like that, and it made the equivalent in today's money of 150 million at the box office. It did really, really well. This film, the 2000 remake, it depending on which site you go to, the budget was around between 90 and 100. So I've gone for 95 million. Okay. At the box office, it made 237 million, but Disney wrote it off as a loss of 220 million. Because it had such a high marketing cost. Actually, in real terms, it only lost about $90 million dollars, but again, it had huge marketing, and it didn't do so well. And another thing which is interesting about this, and this is something that me and Nige sort of go on about a lot, is that if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, critics 25%, people audience score 77%. I mean, it just goes to show how irrelevant critics are these days. Yeah. They really are. But as I said, this was but the film at the time, the 74 film, held the record for wrecking the most cars in a single car chase, which was 93 cars.
No.
Yeah, at the time.
No, at 74. The time, because it was beaten by Blues Brothers. And if you watch that film,
yes, it was.
The whole end of that film is them wrecking cars.
Yes, but at the time, this held the record. And then yes, it was beaten by that. Vinny, now we mentioned it. We mentioned the Hummer. There is a scene where Vinnie Jones steals the Hummer and he's driving it down a circular car park, and a cop car comes back up and he pushes the cop car back down. As he's pushing the cop car back down, the cop car falls off the ramp and goes down a level. That was never meant to happen. The car was meant to dangle over the thing. But because Vinnie Jones was actually driving the car, because we'll get into this in a minute, but the actors that actually drive in this really do drive and really do a lot of the stunts in this, especially Nick Cage. But when he's driving it down, there wasn't enough room to get the car past. So instead of cutting the scene and redoing it, Vinnie Jones just floored it. Knocked the fucking car off. And of course, then he gets out and he goes, serves you right. He was particularly, he wasn't very apologetic about it, apparently, on set. But that was never meant to happen. And there's another scene, you know, when the Jeeps pushed through the wall by the wrecking ball and the cop's BMW goes into the back of it. That was never meant to happen. He actually totaled that BMW. They had to buy another one at the cost of $16,000 at the time. And they had to get another Beamer in to do it, but because I only had one at the time, and he wasn't meant to have wrecked it, and he did. And it's in the film. You see him crash into it, and then afterwards they sort of made up that it had a bit of a dent. Oh, did I derp again?
No, you were fine. No, you were fine.
I think you derped then.
Did I derp? I didn't seem to derp.
You derped.
You did derp. Don't worry.
But yeah, so they then made up the second BMW to look like it had crashed, but it was a brand new BMW because he totally ruined it in that scene. Right. Next fact. As I said, the driving in this, none of it is on rigs, and most of it is not green screened. So the actual driving, the director, it was directed by Dominic Senna, who the only other film that I knew him for was Swordfish. And he hasn't made a lot since. But this was a Jerry Bruckheimer produced film, by the way. Unsurprisingly. But here's something for you before I go. Did you know that the script that goes on air was not written by the guy that's credited? Do you want to know who it was written by? Because this might put you off now.
Did you say Alex Kurtzman?
No, nearly as bad, but not quite Alex Kurtzman.
Akiva Goldsman?
No.
Okay, who is it then?
Who's it? J.J. Abrams rewrote the script.
Really?
For the film. Yeah. Yes, he did.
Really?
Babster's watching. Derped means that one of us dirt faces.
It's with a connection.
In our internet. Yeah.
Yeah, it just on a hold for a while, so it's derping. Yes. Because Keith is in Thailand and his internet is primarily tinfoil and copper wire.
It is not. Do you know what? I did a speed test. I get 600 and something meg download and 200 and something up. I've got fiber into the house, and you say you've got copper into your house. Oh no, you've got even worse.
I've got
Virgin Media.
I've got Virgin Media. Still better than your Thai tinfoil, my friend.
It's not.
Your Thai tinfoil. I've got the fastest internet until I need it to work.
It was very good. It was very good for about a year and a half, but recently it's dropped out a bit. But anyway, as I said, the driving in this film, none of it's on rigs. So when you see the actor driving the car, they are actually driving the car. But the thing was, especially for the chase at the end. Nick Cage is doing all his own stunt driving. But when you actually see, there's over 300 pounds of fucking camera rig on the front of this car, and he barely had a strip to drive the car to see because of all the multiple camera rigging and the lighting that was on there. So he had this little box to drive. And not only did he have to drive a car with a very small amount of space, he had to act as well. So people that say that Nicolas Cage can't act, bullshit, because there's a lot of actors out there that could not do what he did in this film.
Nicolas Cage isn't the fact that he acts, is the fact that he hams it up to the max.
Oh, he has a moment where he hams it in this, but I also think he's quite a talented guy. I mean, he's a car guy. He owns Ferraris and all sorts of shit. He is a proper fucking petrol head. And he, funny enough, because he went to sort of stunt driving school for this, as did a few of the actors. Any of the actors, so Angelina Jolie, I can't remember his name, but I'm gonna call it up now because I don't want to keep referring to him as the black guy. Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo went because he was in the car chase, and Christopher Eccleston. No, he didn't. Christopher Eccleston couldn't drive.
Yes,
he didn't have a driving license.
Yes, he didn't have a driving. Yeah, he didn't have driving license until like 2006.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Nick Cage then carried on and got more interested in race driving after this film. But when you actually see, there's a few videos sort of dotted around about how they made it. When you see the rig on the front of that Mustang, it's like, how the hell did he drive that car? And for, you know, do all that sort of like acting as he does as he's driving the car. So it was an interesting fact that that highlights he's not the worst actor in the world. And as our friend Babster here says, he should come back. I love Nick Cage. I'm sorry, I do. I know he hams it. But I love him.
Actually,
he is the king. He is the king of fast movies.
There's a job opportunity coming up. He should be the next Doctor Who. That would be. Could you imagine? He lives in Bath. It's not that far away from Cardiff.
So here's another fact. Eleanor, which was also the name of a car in the original Gone in 60 Seconds, Eleanor was supposed to be a GT40, an original Ford GT40. Now, if you know anything about cars, Ford GT40 is pretty fucking small. There is no fucking way Nick Cage is going to get into a Ford GT, an original one. It's so fucking small. But the Ford GT40, if you have seen Ford versus Ferrari, was designed by Shelby. Yeah. Or was helped to be designed by Shelby. Shelby basically got it race worthy, but they then swapped to the GT500, 67 GT500. Although there's a fact about that here in a minute, but we'll go on to that. The car in the film, the car that you see, Eleanor. Is not a GT500. It was a fastback Mustang, and there was 12 of them. And then they basically modified it. And they recorded the engine noise of a GT500, but that is not a GT500. There is a real GT500 in this film. It's the banged up piece of shit that his brother gives to him at the end. And that was made to look like a banged up piece of shit. That car was worth over $1 million. And it was, the owner agreed to lend it to him. So they very carefully took off all the panels of the car and then put this shitty panels on the car. Because when you hear that fucking thing start up, that's definitely a GT500 V8 from Shelby.
Just to note that Delroy Lindo is English.
Yes, I know.
Elton, even though I've never seen it, he must have been raised in the States because I've never heard him.
He's been in a lot of things. He was recently in that Vietnam movie, The Bloods, I think it's called, on Netflix. Is it called Bloods or something? About veterans that go back. He was in that. It was what's the activist black director in America called?
What, Spike Lee?
It's Spike Lee, yeah, it's his recent film on Netflix.
Okay. And
he's also, and if you are into The Good Wife and thing, he's in The Good Fight as well. He's quite good in The Good Fight. The Good Fight's got quite a lot of English people that play Americans because there's a black lady in that who's from Lewisham, I think. That's when you hear her speak normally, she's got a proper London accent.
Yeah,
And I mean a proper London accent.
I do
It
find
throws you completely.
I do find that mad. Okay,
So
so
English people can pull American accents, but unfortunately, for most Americans, they can't pull English
there are a
accents.
few that can. Robert Downey
There
Jr.
are a few. There are a few, but
What's the
the rule
Gwyneth
is that Americans
Paltrow,
don't do.
Renée Zellweger.
Did you have
They can, but they need coaches.
Did you have to bring up Gwyneth Paltrow?
What a goop!
Yes.
Me and you have to get together and we have to go through her goop shit because
I know she sells candles that smell like her vagina.
There's more. There's so much more.
Yes, I know. Oh, I know.
And Babster just turned around. I'm assuming this is the what do you call it? The reference to Nicolas Cage playing Doctor Who. I think that's a petition. That's a what do you call it? What's when you put the petitions online? What are they called?
Oh,
what are the petitions online called? We need to put one of them up. I was going to say GoFundMe.
Yes, I know. Yes, I know I know what you mean. I just can't remember the name of it.
Could you imagine him as Doctor Who? He's brilliant. It's like kind of the reason we've got Jodie Whittaker, we've got Nicolas Cage.
I would consider. They've always said it would never be an American, but I would like to see that. I would go for that. But anyway, as we're on the subject of Shelby, this is an interesting one. So after this movie came out, there was quite obviously a huge demand for GT500, 67 GT500 Mustangs that looked like Eleanor.
Mm-hmm.
And Carroll Shelby being Carroll Shelby. And I mean, again, if you've seen Ford versus Ferrari, fucking good movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. You will know that Carroll Shelby, let's just say, did questionable things at times. He broke a few rules. And you know, it was never one to not make a quick buck when he could. And people started contacting him, so he started making GT500 replicas and selling them for 8-figure numbers. And he would badge them up as Eleanor, you know, featured in Gone in 60 Seconds. Now, the wife of Toby, I think, how do we say his name? Howlacki, which was the director of the 1974 movie and also starred in it. She sued Carroll Shelby. Now, the wife sued him because Toby died in 1989 filming a stunt for Gone in 60 Seconds 2, which was never released because he died. But there is an unfinished sequel to the original 1974 movie, which unfortunately, tragically, Toby died. But he married this model. I'm not going to say anything, I'm not making any joke. 3 months before she died. Now, she does seem to want to protect his legacy. And as I said, she's a producer on the 2000 movie. But she sued Shelby, and it started in 2004, and it went on for 4 years. And initially, her lawsuit was thrown out because Shelby's name is on the fucking car in the movie. Mm-hmm. And the judge was like, it's a Shelby GT500. It's his car. She won. She went back and she sued him again, and she won because she owned the copyright to the characters' names and the trademark for Eleanor. And because he was badging it as Eleanor, she successfully won the second lawsuit, and Shelby had to stop producing these Shelby GT500s modeled after the car in the movie. Yeah, which is, you know, kind of interesting, bearing in mind that the film didn't really ask permission of Shelby to use his cars in it, which you can't because, you know, but it's interesting how he lost the rights to make his own fucking car. Yeah. Which, you know, because he was using the character name.
Saying that, there's the AC Cobra that Shelby claims to have done, but that was made in bloody Thames Ditton with like English parts before it was pushed out to.
But the GT40 wasn't designed by Shelby. Shelby just perfected it.
Well, it's like the Abarth models with cars. Well, you get the Italians and you get the Abarth models, and it's the one that everyone's. Is it the Fiat 500 little one, Abarth, that everyone goes crazy for?
Well, the original Abarth or the new one? Because the original one the original Fiat 500, the engine was so big that it pokes out the back of the boot. The boot cover.
Oh, the Abarth
the
version.
original 500. Yeah, and it has the engine sticking out the fucking back of it. It has two engines. It's ridiculous. The Abarth. Even the new one is pretty fucking stupid. Yeah. There's also a Ferrari Abarth version of the GT 500 for the Fiat 500 as well. That thing is fucking ridiculous. And it's all souped up like a Ferrari thing because obviously Fiat owned Ferrari, which is a little known fact.
Mad.
Yeah, but yes, but so as I said, there's only the actual Eleanors used in this film. There's only they weren't really GT 500s, but it's an interesting thing because the jump. Do you know the jump on the bridge towards the end? That is still predominantly practical effects. The bit that is CGI is once you see the car in the air going that long distance, that was CGI, and they did that by having a camera on a cable racing down the bridge. But when you see the car take off and land, that's all real. That's all practical effects. So they closed off this bridge, and it was only one of two bridges into the Long Beach area. And it pissed off a lot of people because they closed off the bridge for like 3 days when they were doing it. And they were that jump was filmed on the bridge, and of course the car falls into cardboard boxes. But the landing's a different story. They made 12 cars for this. They totaled 2 cars just on the landing of that scene. Just landing it. They completely fucking wrecked it. And unsurprisingly, Cage was not in the car when that bit. He is in the car on the race up to the jump, but the actual jump bit is a stunt driver. He was forced to not be in the car. He wanted to do the jump, but they wouldn't let him do it. But he does do a lot of the other scenes. So, and it's interesting because again, there's a couple of making videos on it, and like when he's chasing in the streets. And he races through, and then the cop car's behind him, and the cop car gets bunged by a bus. They had this rigged pulley system. So there's a cable that runs from the back of the bus around on a loop system, come around like this, and then around like that. So it was pulling the cop car. Yeah. So there was no way that the bus was ever going to miss this car, and because of the exact length of the cable, the bus would always hit the car in the same place. And that's how they did that. And they did a lot of pulley systems like that. So when you see the gas canister go off, that was a mixture of practical and CGI. Some of the time it was CGI, but it's very good CGI.
Just on a quick aside. Richard Wilson's too old to play a Doctor.
And he's already been in Doctor Who. He was in the first series. Yes, he was in the "Are You My Mummy" episode, which is arguably one of the fucking creepiest episodes of Doctor Who ever made. It still freaks me. The kids in the mask. Oh, God, it gets me. So yes, there was that. Another thing, because we went through the list of the cars, and the Jaguar XJ 220 on there, that replaced another car, because what they originally wanted was a McLaren F1. And you can't get a McLaren F1 for fucking love nor money. And in actual fact, the only place that you can buy a McLaren F1 is through McLaren, because when you bought a McLaren F1, if you ever wanted to part ways with that, you had to agree to sell it back to McLaren, who would then refurbish it and sell it as almost new. And the funny thing was, because I mean, you lived in Weybridge, but you weren't living up near Ottershaw at that point in time. And we were.
I dox me. Thanks.
No, I didn't dox you. I'm not. It's a big place. I lived near there as well, and you used to see McLaren F1s being tested all the time. It's like McLaren F1.
The McLaren factory and whatnot is just up the road. It's all between my house and Woking, where they have their underground facility under a lake, like a James Bond villain, and you expect the lake to part open and some nuclear missiles to pop up because of the way it's set out.
I've been in there.
Have you been in there?
I have been in there. Yes, I have, and I've got I had friends that worked for it. And I've got a friend currently who works there.
Everybody I know, apart from me, has been in there. They're a salesman at
I
work.
got-
I've been in there. Oh, thanks. That's nice. Bastards.
I was invited to their staff car show day where you were able to go in. You weren't able to go into the sort of F1 bits, but you could see where it all was. And this was prior to them opening up the factory. An interesting fact about McLaren: when McLaren started making sort of the road going cars again, especially after they sort of went out on their own and dropped Mercedes, because you had that McLaren Mercedes. They were making the cars in the tech center, but obviously they wanted to sort of up their production thing. They moved their entire production line, right? Bearing in mind that no other car, they moved their entire production line in 8 hours to the new factory, because there's a tunnel that connects the tech center to the new factory, which is next to it, and that is recessed into the ground as well. And they just wheeled everything down the fucking tunnel and into the new factory, and then carried on making cars. They were down for 8 hours.
Wow,
8 hours in total. That's just fucking incredible. And of course, now they make some amazing looking cars. I mean, they make probably the cars with the best looking backsides ever, with the exception of the Audi R8. I think McLaren, if you're looking at the bums on cars, McLaren make the best ones by a fucking country mile.
Okay. All right. So, are we ready to round this up?
No, because there's a couple more. Interesting. Angelina Jolie, when her character first turns up and meets in the gang, she turns up on a motorbike. Now, if you're a bike geek, you'll know what this is. But the bike that she turns up on was a MV Augusta, 1999. There are a gold series, and there are only 300 of those ever made. There you go. I actually knew what that bike was. I'm not a huge bike geek, but I used to ride bikes.
Augusta, I thought a helicopter.
No, it's Italian, mate.
Okay, I'm sure the Augusta is also
and to finish it off in facts, I don't know if you're aware of this. We've never really done this, and we should do this. And I'm going to start doing this with when these movies are played abroad, they change the titles of the film, and in Greek theaters, the title was changed, and when you translate it, the film was called "Come in 60 Seconds."
Come in 60 seconds. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. I'd just like to point out that there is a company called Augusta Helicopter Manufacturing that's from Italy as well. Yes, I don't know if they do motorcycles.
I just knew that the bike that she rides in on was very, very rare. And as I said, there's only 300 of them in the world. Again, the bike was insured for ridiculous money in the film. But yes, those are your interesting facts, just really around the movie.
Just a quick one. Did you hear about Kurt Russell and the expensive guitar on The Hateful Eight, the Quentin Tarantino film?
Yes, it is The Hateful Eight, yes.
Yeah. Did you hear about him, the guitar?
No.
They loaned out a guitar that was worth about, I don't know, it was a couple of $1 million. And he was supposed to smash up a replica one, and he smashed up the original. It's one of those ones where it's like, Kurt, no! And it's like, kind of, dude, just get it on camera at least. At least so that's not wasted. I'll have to find that when we get to it, but that's what that reminded me of.
I always cringe when, because, I mean, there's what's his face? What's his name? Radio presenter that did one season of Top Gear. Ginger glasses.
Chris Evans.
It's not Chris. Is it Chris Evans?
It's Chris Evans. Ginger Chris Evans.
All right.
Or American Chris Evans.
He is a proper petrol head, and he loves his Ferraris. And he owns one of the most expensive Ferraris ever built at auctions, like $3.5 million or something ridiculous like that, which he then had painted up white. He let James May drive it. Actually, I mean, it's probably better than letting what's his face.
if you had a choice, right? If you let what's his face must drive it, Richard Hammond, he would probably crash it. Yeah. If you give it to Clarkson, he would probably rag the bollocks off of it and break it. If you give it to James May, he would probably bring it back cleaner than when it was.
Yeah, but the stupid thing is that James May is the Ferrari fan and owns a few Ferraris.
Yeah, and pandas.
And yes, he does, but he loves his Ferraris. And I mean that Ferrari that Evans had, it's really, really rare, beautiful car. beautiful car. But yeah, I as I said, one of the reasons I love this film is because I don't like a lot of American muscle cars, but the Mustang, especially the Shelby, I'd fucking have that. And even now, the modern Mustangs, they've recently launched them in Thailand and in the UK in right-hand drive, which is kind of, now being a British person and knowing that we drive on the proper side of the road, there is something still inherently wrong with a right-hand drive Mustang. It's nothing, just not quite right about it.
Perfectly normal, Keith. Perfectly normal.
I mean, a friend of mine who I used to work with, she unfortunately she passed away from cancer not that long ago, and she knew she was, so she thought, fuck it, I'm going to buy my dream car, and she bought the fucking Mustang, and she let me and them have a go in it. Oh god, I love that car. That fucking noise, that V8 engine, and you fucking grrr, it's a real fucking oh, beautiful. It's just beautiful. Now I've driven a Jaguar V8 and it's not a fucking patch on a Mustang. God, the noise of that. It's just, I love it. Okay. Love it. The smell, even now. Yes. Anyway, yes, I might be a sci-fi geek, but I do love my cars. And this was a great heist movie. So if you've never seen it, watch it.
Okay. So thanks for watching.
Yes, thanks for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and we will. No, we won't be back.
We'll be back tomorrow.
We'll be back with this particular series. We'll be back with this particular series in 2 weeks, where we will be doing another one of your brother's suggestions, which again is going to feature Nick Cage. What is it with this guy?
It was just Nick Cage run ever since No, he wasn't in Stargate.
No, he wasn't in Stargate, and he wasn't in Independence Day. But he's been in every other fucking movie we've covered. And we're doing your brother's suggestion because I haven't seen that for ages. So I thought, right, I'll dig that one out.
Which one's that?
But I wanted to do Face Off.
I was thinking Speed, actually. When you were talking about jumps, I was just thinking about the bit with the bus. Because everyone goes that bus, but never
Speed is Keanu Reeves. I suppose we need to do a Keanu Reeves movie, and Speed would probably be it. Not Speed 2, that's terrible.
Yes. But, he wasn't that either.
No, he wasn't. Good job he wasn't. So yes, there's more things, but we're probably going to start stepping out as well, because we've got to do that Stargate and Babylon 5 fucking thing as well at some point. So
yeah. Well, oh god,
yeah.
I rewatch all of B5. Bloody hell.
I have recently watched it. So
I'm one episode away from finishing off Dark on Netflix, which is confusing as fuck.
Please tell me, are you still watching it in German with the freaking subtitles?
No, because you need a diagram to follow it as it is. And the other thing too is it comes across as a lot moodier in German than it does with the English dub.
It's the Germans.
It's the Germans. Yes, it is very thingy. So yeah, we'll do that. Babster suggests Drive Angry. Yes, I know. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
but I don't think I've ever seen it, but I know the film. But not a popcorn flick. But I would like to, because when we talk, possibly we'll talk about this tomorrow as well. But if you happen to have Apple TV, if you happen to have it, do watch Greyhound. It is brilliant. I've watched it twice in 2 days. I love it. It's really good. I mean, it's Tom Hanks' latest film, which this week he criticized because he went, I'm really devastated that it's coming out on Apple TV because he wanted. And actually, having seen it twice, I know what he means. I wish I'd seen it in the cinema. Really good.
Okay.
If you love the Tom Hanks war film, this is action from the minute to the end. It uses music beauty. It's Dunkirk, but better. And it's really worth watching. So if you start for a film, it's not a popcorn fix, not a fast food film. It's a serious war film, but it's brilliant, and it is literally tension from the beginning to the end, and it's awesome. And Tom Hanks is amazing in it. So it's I've seen it twice. I love it. Okay. So watch it.
All right. So
Cue the music, Gareth. Cue the music.
hang on. What's this? Sorry, Baxter just put a few things in. He put he has the flip disc. I'm assuming that's the Drive Angry flip disc. Best film NC did in my Nicolas Cage did in my opinion. What no cinema, and then what no cinema release. And I was looking forward to seeing that.
Well, I mean, perhaps you can torrent it, but it's on Apple TV in glorious 4K, and it is if you know somebody with it or can give you access to it, it's really really good. Unfortunately, no, it didn't get a cinematic release because of this bloody beer bug, but it's worth seeing. I really enjoyed it, and I haven't enjoyed a movie like that for a long time, but it was really really good. It's just brilliant.
And on that note, it's time to say goodbye.
Cue the music, Gareth. Cue the music.
Don't think about doing the stay tuned nonsense. I've got the finger on the button.